With this, I would like to invite Mr. Lanting. So how much time do you do? 20 minutes time, sir, for you?
I'll try to do it faster.
Oh, that will give time for some questions.
Good afternoon. My name is Mans Lanting. I'm working in India since '93 in different parts of India, from Gangtok to Kanyakumari, I always say. I'm working with farmers, and that is why I thought, okay, it's nice that I am invited to a place where breeders are, because you work for farmers. You don't work for science, you don't work for yourself. That is maybe a strange thing to say, but it is like that. You have a job because they are farmers. So that is an important thing to know, how I look at things. Another thing, before you ask me, what is my opinion about GMO? Because that is always asked at the end of the session, so I will do it at the beginning of the session. Very nice technology, but what we see in cotton, for instance, that it will express itself in each variety in a different way. We also know that if there's water stress, or there is too much water, or there is no proper nutrient supply, that the expression of the gene is not there, or hardly there. It recovers when the situation of stress is over, but we have that problem. For small-scale farmers who cannot control a lot of these factors, I think it is not going to be very, very useful. There is some evidence of that. If you look at, for instance, the USDA has done a comparison of the GMO crops compared with conventional crops over all kinds of farmers in the US, and they found no difference. Yeah, so that is one of the things I would like to say. So study the thing. It's an interesting technology, but how useful it is to the farmers, we have to see. I really would like you to follow that very, very critically. That is one. Second thing, I come from Europe, and in our country, GMO is not allowed. It must be on the package. If it is containing GMO, you are not allowed to eat it, or you can buy it, but it is better that it is not there. I think it is basically because of the fear that people have that there is still cutting of DNA going on when you eat that. That is the fear. And I don't know to what extent that fear is right or not. There is a little bit of an evidence that this cauliflower mosaic virus is still active after or can become active in cutting, even if you have already introduced it into the plants. And then when it comes in the digestive tract of human beings, there is some farm people who are saying that it works. I can't know, but there is a problem. Okay, let's go to the climate change. This has been shown already, and we see that in India we are going to face a big problem with the food production very soon. That is within 30 years. That is quite serious. In the north it is going to be 40% less than 2005 production. In the south it will be between 20 and 30%. So that is quite a serious issue. So if you look at the wheat production, the potential impact on that is quite substantial. This is just an example. There are many other crops where we can show other examples. So I talk about climate crisis because we really have no time. It is very, very short period we have left to do something. So I'm quite impressed by what I see now in this morning session, how fast we can develop, how fast we have, let's say, access to these markers, how we speed things we can do. So that is giving some hope, because we have a bit more time to do things, but we have to be quite active. Now what we see as farmers is the onset and the end of monsoon. We are not sure when it will come. That's a big issue, big problem. Distribution of the rain has totally changed. So we have periods of drought and in the season, and very serious drought, and we also have very serious flooding in the same season. So that is what farmers are facing. Then also the day and the night temperatures are rising. That also has a kind of effect, or a quite serious effect on production. Then there are also non-climate factors that people are facing. Labor is difficult to find, expensive. We also find it difficult to find mechanization. That's still not there. So we have not a very nice situation for farmers. Input costs are rising, transport costs are increasing, markets are controlled by traders, and access to working capital is very, very limited. These are some of the problems that farmers are facing. So now, from now onwards, I'm going to forget my profession, that is being an agronomist. So I do as if we have no means to do anything to mitigate that problems of climate. I do not. We can't do anything as agronomists. That is not true. We can do a lot of things, but I'm putting your agenda. So we don't want. I don't want to urge you to get the highest possible yield, but I would like to make an agenda that you say we create crops that give good income, but reduce the risk for farmers and the cost of production. That is very important for farmers. And the agenda is focusing on 70% of your production area that is non-irrigated. And so if I have irrigation, everything under control, my life is relatively easy as a farmer. But if I have no control over rainfall, my life is very different. Okay, so farmers would like to have crops and seeds that I can sow before the season starts, waiting for the rain to come. That would be nice. Yeah, but the soil temperatures are very high at that time. We talk about 30, 40 degrees, sometimes more. And we should have seed that can, let's say, withstand that. The reason why I'm asking this is because what we notice is that now, if the rain starts, we usually get rain, and we can't prepare the land. And we cannot get into the land to plant. That means we have a delay of sowing. We have now very often a drought or an extreme wet period immediately after the planting. So we need plants that can handle both. The end of the season is not clear. Drought is a problem, but rain during harvest is a bigger problem. So we need to look at, can we get crops that, varieties that can be harvested when it is dry, while they have gone through a wet period when they were more or less ripe. That would be nice. So this shows the big problem of the world, and especially also you see that India is part of that, where we have, let's say, water problems in future. So that is going to be a major issue. Now, we have drought and flooding in the same period. We need to have plants that can shut down the evapotranspiration and able to withstand periods of low oxygen in the root zone. That are kind of things that we would like to see. We have very wet and dry periods, and they can coincide with pollination. So that is the next problem that we very often have with, let's say, ragi, if it is starting, or with baja, if it is starting to rain during flowering, no yield. If you look at, let's say, tomato, when the temperatures are too high, then we also don't get pollination, we don't get fruit set. So we need to look at that and see what are the kind of things we can do. And then also we would like to have an extended flowering, so that it is not flowering at one time, because if that happens, then if at that time we have one of those extreme situations, we have no crop. So if we have more flowering periods, then that is nice. Okay, here we look at the increase of temperature, and here also we see how that is for paddy also related very much with the stage in which the crop is, what is exactly the effect of that. So this is an important point, and I hope that you as breeders can have a look at that and say, okay, can we somehow deal with that? Another thing that will happen is that we will have new pests, new diseases in different type of mixture than we have now, and that is to be expected. So I would like the breeders to be very alert of that and work with the entomologists and the pathologists so that you know that you are breeding something that is still useful. So for potato, for instance, we are facing a new problem, that is also tomato, that is the late blight, that is changing very often in different physio. Now we have the blue turkey, from pollen to pollen in 4 days. Before that we had another one, it took 16 days from pollen to pollen. And so the jolly variety that is there, the potato, has no resistance against this one. And so we need to be very alert and know what is happening in disease and pest development and what we should do to be in time with a kind of solution. Then, this is also always the problem. We would like to have more mechanization because of that labor, and that usually means that I have to have a very uniform crop that ripens at the same time. That goes against what I asked you before. To have the flowering spread out, and that means also your harvesting spread out, usually. And so this is a kind of conflicting thing, but that is always in agriculture. We want to have more mechanized testing. I worked a long time back already with Dr. S.S. Patil on the compact hybrids, and we were having a vision that around this time we should have mechanized harvesting of cotton. I think he's still working on that, but that is what is very soon required. We are paying about 30% of the cost of the production of cotton is in the picking alone. So if we can change that, that would be very nice. We would like to have crops that have some resistance against pests and diseases. And so I really admire the work of Plantix, and we were in the beginning asked to work with them, and I said, well, I would like to prevent the diseases and not see them. And usually if you can see the pest and the disease, you are too late. And we are still in debate with each other on that issue and hope to start work again. But that is one of the things I would like to have: prevention, resistance. Then we would like to have vigorous growth of a crop, so that we don't have too much of weeding. That would be important. Then, and that is also one of the things, you have a big research going on in India on biofertilizers, on mycorrhiza, on all kinds of biocontrol agents. And I'm not so sure whether in the breeding agenda you also look at that. But you also look at whether I create crops that can have symbiosis with mycorrhiza or have an impact, work with rhizobium of different kind. I don't know if you are doing that, but it might be something very useful to do. So then also we can look at physical features that reduce egg-laying by pests. We know that certain crops have hairs, and it is difficult for eggs to be deposited on that. We also have, let's say, situations that the physical things are making it not so nice for pests to sit there. Thick cell walls might be important. And so these are kind of things that I would like to bring to your attention, and say maybe you could also make your breeding agenda to include some of these things. It is a huge agenda because this is for all the crops I'm working with, and that is not a small thing. And I know that I put too much in your hands, but have a look at that. I don't know what traits you can combine. Usually what I see is that the attempts of pioneer, for instance, South Africa to bring stacked genes into maize only led to a lowering of the yield instead of the yield going up. We have to look at that. So traits are positive and negative, and sometimes they are combined. And if you would like to try, for instance, colored cotton, I understand that you always end up with a short staple cotton. I don't know why, but that is what I'm told. So I think these are the issues that we could look at, difficult issues, but I hope you are going to work on it, and our farmers and the farmers of the future get very nice varieties for you that can still yield while climate has changed. Thank you very much.
Yes, following this very nice, elaborate presentation of an agenda that the speaker himself says is a big ask for plant breeders to work for farmers in dryland areas. I would like to invite few questions from the audience. Mr. Lanting would be very
breeder already has too many things on his shoulders. And if I see all this, then one of my slides I said, any increase in productivity in any improved variety or hybrid, 50% is genetics, 50% is management. I think we should not be thinking that all this can be included in a particular variety or hybrid, because when you include a resistance or tolerance to a pest or a disease or drought or salinity, there is a penalty on yield. You cannot get everything. So it is better for the breeder to concentrate on the major traits that are needed by the farmer, by the consumer, and if there are things that can be managed by crop husbandry, I think they should be managed that way, rather than trying to ask breeder to include all these things. Just my request not to burden the plant breeders.
So I fully agree with you, Dr. Gowda. So it is just other points, but I think the issue of wet and dry, that is the most important one. So that we in one season we have extremely wet situation, extremely dry. So that is, let's say, at the moment a very difficult thing. We do a lot in laser leveling and ridges, but still, and organic matter application, we do a lot, but still that is not solving all the problems.
Well, the time, no, please, time allows one more question, and after that, please.
So so I'm a farmer, I'm a beneficiary of the technology. So to be frank with you, farmers, we are ready to roll out the red carpet for any good technology. So only, out of the total crop produced in India, only cotton constitutes just less than 3%. That means remaining 97%, they haven't tasted the benefit of the technology. Only the 3% of the farmers, they, 95% of cotton grown in India are BT cotton. That itself shows, in spite of the, lot of allegations and false allegations against this technology, farmers, we are ready to accept the technology. And again, it doesn't, we mentioned about that, it doesn't address this thing. It failed in drought-prone area. Actually, this is meant to address the problem of pest alone. It is not meant to address the problem of other problems, other abiotic stress factors. Maybe if more genes are stacked into it, perhaps we may get a better crop. Yeah, thank you.
And the farmers are using BT cotton, that is true. I say both parties, both done in early stages, Monsanto and Shiva, Shiva and all the groups were telling big lies, both. So the problem was that the debate was based on lies, not based on scientific discussion. And so if we have to believe on the Shiva and the Center for Sustainable Agriculture, we would have no goats in India anymore, because it was said that it would kill goats. So I am in that part neutral. Both parties have exaggerated and unfortunately done that. So that is one of the problems, I think, of GMO, that let's say Monsanto had more lawyers than breeders. So that was the big problem, that that has really given a very bad name to GMO. There is indeed scientific proof. I'm not talking about, let's say, some stories. You can ask Dr. Granti of Central Institute of Cotton Research, now with how we call it, Cotton Advisory Committee. And he has also enough information that if the water supply is not enough or too much, that then certain parts of the plant, the expression of the toxin is not there. That is, and if I use my, let's say, fertilizer inappropriate, the same thing happens. If you want, I can provide you all the scientific research. This is not from the groups that are against it, that is from the groups who were promoting it. So I'm not a person who is against science, and that because of that all what I say is not true. That is not the case. I do scientific research into that. And I agree with you, it has solved a lot of problems. It has solved a lot of problems with resistance in the past. In Guntur, I could just drop an insect in concentrated pesticide and it would survive. That was in the early 90s, middle of the 90s. Yeah, so that is now gone because of BT. But we also have a resurgence of white fly, of the pink bollworm is coming. And so we see that Spodoptera is somehow surviving. And so there are a number of things happening that we have to closely follow and don't accept, okay, that every situation is the same. These things work well in Barangal, where we have deep soils, where we have water under control, but it will not work very well in Vidarbha area. Yeah, that is the only thing I want to say. There is not one truth. There are multiple truths. There are many truths. And that depends on where you sit and what you do.
Well, I would like to thank Mr. Mans Lanting very much for his nice and lucid presentation and bringing out the necessity for developing.